Welcome to Build, Grow, Profit, where you hear from entrepreneurs why they built their business, what they did to grow it, and how they profit. Hello and welcome to Build, Grow, Profit. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am so excited to introduce you to our amazing guest today. She has been in remission for many, many years from fibromyalgia because she was able to figure out what she needed and not let that, have a less impact on her life, take back control of her life. I knew there was a word I was looking for. And she founded the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute, which teaches coaches and advocates how to help fibromyalgia patients so that they can get better and live the life that Miss Tami Stackelhouse is living. Welcome, Tami.
Thank you so much, Cassie. It's a pleasure being here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk to you today. I love that. So tell us in your words who you are and what you do.
Sure. So, as you said, I'm the founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. I'm also the author, which is how we met, of 2 books on fibromyalgia. I'm the executive producer of a fibromyalgia documentary called Invisible, and I also host the Fibromyalgia Podcast. So, you can tell just with all of that, I do help people with fibromyalgia. And really, it's really about giving them the education that they need. Fibromyalgia is not one of the things doctors are really taught about in medical school, so we're there to kind of help fill that gap. But also, just like how do you live with this? What are some tips and tricks from somebody who's really lived it, right? And just coming to terms with living in a body that maybe works differently than it used to, some of that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give us this might be a different answer than, but what's like a tip or a trick that someone could, if they like stumble there and they're like, oh my gosh, yes. What's like the first thing they could do?
The first thing I would do, this was one of the very first things that was super helpful for me in managing my fibromyalgia, is using actually a step tracker. So back in the day, this was before iPhones. I had just a regular pedometer, but these days, we might have a smartwatch or a Fitbit, or even your phone will tell you the steps. But kind of start getting a feel for. Oh, first off, throw out the 10,000 steps idea. That is not helpful for a fibro person. But kind of get a feel for how many steps do you do in a day? How do you feel at that number of steps? How many steps does it take to go to the grocery store, to go to the movies, or wherever it is that you're going, whatever it is you're doing? And then once you know some of those numbers, you kind of know what your daily budget is, and you know how much different things will cost you in terms of numbers of steps. And that really helped me from a practical standpoint, just to manage the energy that I had. So
That's amazing. And you use my favorite words like budget and figuring out what things will cost you. I love it.
it's just like money, right? Like every
Yeah.
day we
Yeah.
have a certain amount of energy, and
Mhm,
sure, you can spend more than you have and use
mhm.
tomorrow's credit. It will always cost you more. You can plan for it and budget better.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just like money.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's amazing. All right. So we're gonna get into more of how Tammy helps. We're gonna talk about her wellness quiz in a minute, but um tell us what has been the key to growing your business?
The big thing for me, having fibromyalgia myself, I actually started my business well before I was in remission. I started coaching in 2009. And really, a key thing for me was doing business my way. So, not getting too hung up on all the what the gurus and the coaches and the best practices and like all the things out there. There was no way I was going to work 60 hours a week building my business, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't well enough at the beginning and now I don't want to. But so
Yes.
just like doing
Mhm,
my business my way, and it had
mhm,
to, maybe I didn't do as many things, or I didn't work as many hours, or I took things slower. But kind of figuring out that balance between doing enough, right, that you get
mhm.
traction and can actually start to make a difference, but also not doing too much, and really finding that from an energetic place, that sustainability of my own energy to be able just to kind of steadily keep going.
That's
So,
amazing, and I
yeah,
would say that that might be a place where fibromyalgia gave you an amazing gift because you
100%.
couldn't do all these things. You
Yeah.
actually had to pay attention. Like, if I'm spending this amount of steps, this amount of energy, am I getting a return on that? Right?
Oh, 100%. It's for sure one of the biggest gifts. I've had so many people say things like, "Oh my gosh, you've accomplished so much. You're like the most driven person I've ever met." And no, it's really not. It's just that I am so hyper aware that I can't say
Hmm.
yes to everything. So I am super careful about saying yes to the things that are actually going to take me where I want to go,
Hmm.
not just saying yes because I can and then having to say no to something that's more important.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How do you, this is off script, but how do you determine that? I think that's such an important point.
Yeah, first of all, you kinda have to know where you wanna go, right? I have a
Yep.
vision for what I hope to accomplish in the world, what I want my life to look like, how I hope to be able to help people. And when I'm given opportunities, that's how I measure it. I look at it and I say, "Is this gonna move me even just one tiny step closer to those things? Can I see a that it's on the same path?" Either that or is it gonna be fun? Fun is important
Yes.
too,
Yes.
particularly to me, I'm the playmaker, so, fun is super important, but that's really how I measure it, right? Is it going to, grow my business in some way? Is gonna help somebody? I mean, there's so many things that you can do, right? Like, there's so many podcasts I could be
Yeah.
on, for example, so many interviews that I could do. But is it going to help me reach the right people? Is it going to grow my business? Or in the case of Cassie, is it going to be fun?
Yes.
So, yeah,
I love that because there's a payout for fun, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if you're the playmaker. Like that's
Yeah.
what it's all about for us. So, yeah.
I love that. All right. Tell us what's the key has been to growing your business.
The key to growing my business has really, I think, been being super, super clear on what I'm here to do and who I'm here to help. It is so easy to try to help everybody, right? And from the very, very get go, like I want to say I'd only been a coach, not even 6 months, and I took a class where somebody had me focus in and really think about who I was here to serve. And I have been working exclusively with fibromyalgia patients since then, so 15 years of all fibro all the time. Um, but that has been really the key because, yeah, sure, I could help people with chronic
Mhm,
fatigue or lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or, fill in the blank. But because I focused on fibromyalgia specifically, it allowed me to get really, really good at what I do. And also, just from a practical networking level, people hear that word and they think of me, right? Like
mhm.
it's just
Yep.
immediate because I have been so, so focused. So, yeah.
Amazing. And so, what was the key to becoming profitable in your business or being profitable in your business?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh my goodness. So, I think the biggest thing was, I mean, obviously, I'm here to serve people, I'm here to help people, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes we get caught into this trap of thinking that helping people means doing things for free. And it wasn't until I wrote my first book and I hired my book coach and I paid her that big dollar amount that I realized the benefit of charging somebody and how
Yeah.
that actually completely changed how I approached writing my book. And I knew, like, the second I paid her, my book was as good as done, right? Like, there was
Mhm.
no way I was wasting that money. I was doing everything she was going to tell me to do, like, all of that. And so I think that was a key shift for me. I mean, I was the one spending the money and it
Mhm.
changed how I work as a business person because I realized that there is really this connection between literally how much people are invested, like dollar invested and how much they're invested emotionally and how they follow
Mhm.
through on things. And that helping somebody, I'm going to put that in air quotes, helping somebody for free isn't always actually help. Sometimes that actually holds them back. And so that whole shift right there changed the profitability for me. And I started also to get better results for my clients. So,
Amazing. Do you like I know that you have a balance between pro bono and other work. How did you figure that out? And do you think you found like do you have a formula for like I know this is going to serve someone versus just be free help?
oh, that's such a good question. So at first I didn't really know. And so I just kind of took the, tithing 10% idea. And so I kind of figured for every, 9 paying clients, I would have one, scholarship rate or free clients. So that's kind of how I started. But I found the first time I did that, it was totally free. And I found that that person didn't get the kind of results that I would have wanted. So I know
Mhm.
people have to pay something. So now I just do like scholarship rates, kind of, they figure out their rate. But the
Mhm.
more I started to grow my business and the more options I had for things, like after I wrote my books, now I do less like one-on-one coaching at a scholarship rate, and now because people can get me in other ways, right?
Yeah.
Like my podcast is totally free. You can go out and download my books for free. Like there is just so much of my information that you can get completely at no charge that I don't feel like like that's the best use of my time is to provide things that lots of people can get for free versus helping one person for free, right?
Yes.
Also, as I started training coaches, it's also a perfect way for my students to like get practice, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of my students will start off, coaching a couple people for free and then like, raising their rates as they go along, which is perfect, training for them, practice for them. But that's kind of been something that's sort of developed over time. And to be completely honest, I still feel like I don't do enough for free for people because that's like it's my heart, right? Is to
Yeah.
help everybody out there. And there are so many people with fibromyalgia who can't work, who are on disability, who have limited incomes. But I also know like I've got to be smart with my time because there really is only one of me. So if I'm, training people who can then go out and help people, that's actually a better use of my time and ends up helping more people in the long run than me just one on one, right? So,
For sure, absolutely. And if
yeah.
you don't have the time or the energy because you're helping so many people for free, all those other people don't get trained and there's a ripple effect of people who don't get helped.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories, something that happened just I don't know, earlier this year, I think it was, a student who was in my coaching class, so I was teaching her how to work with other people. She had a client that she was working with in, I don't know, in Europe somewhere. I can't remember what country she was in. And her client went to her physical therapist and was teaching the physical therapist the things that she learned from my student. That physical therapist then started using that information with another one of her clients. So
Amazing.
how many,
Right. Yeah.
generations away from me is that? And now we're helping somebody that we have never met, would never have been
Mhm.
able to help, speaks a language I don't speak, right? Like,
Right.
that's what it's all about.
That's amazing, and probably might not even know there's such a thing as like a fibromyalgia coach, right?
No.
They don't even know to look for that.
Right.
You're just helping, helping, helping.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right.
Yep.
Well, we mentioned the podcast, so I'm gonna pop it up, be up on the screen. Anyone can click that. But tell us, just give us how do we? Is it fibromyalgiapodcast.com?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Super, super easy. Yeah, it's
Yes.
just the
Yeah.
Fibromyalgia Podcast. You'll find it in, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, will be there. You can also listen for free on the website. And I kind of try to split the episodes, some where I interview like my coaches or other fibro doctors, people like that. The other half being just me sharing my experience. Some of the episodes are the same thing that I teach in some of my classes. Some of it is me sharing my experience. There's several episodes where I talk about what does Tami do and actually go through like real life. Here's what I do. So there's a pretty wide range, a lot of good stuff out there.
I love it. All right. And tell us about the Fibromyalgia Wellness Style quiz.
Ooh, it's my new favorite thing.
I could see
So
why.
you heard me say a few times I'm the playmaker, right? It's all
Mhm.
fun. That's where that comes from. So the Fibromyalgia Wellness Style quiz, I started thinking about, how different people, like we all have the same illness, we all have the same general symptoms, but some people get flared up where other people don't. Some people are able to get better more on their own. Some people need more help. Like, what's the factor here? And so I started looking at some psychology and the way that our personalities intersect with our health outcomes. And so the quiz is actually based on that psychology, based on that research. And when you take the little quiz, it pops out one of four answers. We have the perfectionist, which is pretty much exactly what you think it is. These are the people who are going to end up in a fibro flare because they did all the things and they tried to do all the things at 150%.
Mhm. Yep.
Right? We have the prevailer, which is always also pretty much what you think. Like, this is the person who, give them a list to check off. The doctor gives you instructions. I want you to do this 3 times a day. They do it 3 times a day, right? But they just keep going, and they don't really get that stressed out in the way that like a perfectionist would, but they still check things off and get things done, right? We have the ponderer, which, it thinks before they act. And so sometimes they can get caught up in that analysis paralysis and not taking action to actually change their health. So they run into different problems, right? They're probably
Mhm.
avoiding going to the doctor or asking the question because they're a little worried about what might be, what the answer might be. And
Yes.
then the playmaker, which is all about fun. I am never, ever, ever going to end up in a fibro flare because I did the chores. It will always because I did, was up too late reading a favorite book or talking with friends, or, like I will have been playing. And that is why I've done too much and not gotten enough sleep. Right. And then once you take that quiz, it'll tell you your answer. But if you sign up for the more complete profile, totally free to do that,
Mhm.
you'll actually get a series of emails with tips for your fibromyalgia wellness style on how to manage your pain, your fatigue, your energy, your brain fog, all of that. You'll get those emails, and it's been so fun to see how people respond to that and how eye-opening it is to be able to look at how you're living life, but uniquely for you, right? Like, not just what everybody else is doing. So if you ever felt like something wasn't working for you, even though it worked for everybody else, it's probably your personality, and we can help with that.
Yes, I love that. And we got a comment in the chat that said cool quiz. I totally agree because it's amazing when we understand, like, oh, that's why that happens, right?
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, yeah. And I could hear it as you were describing. I'm like, oh, yeah. And like, I use different words, but that's how it plays out with money too is, oh,
Yes.
yeah, we're going 100 miles an hour, like 100 miles an hour. That's why that happens. Or, overthinking
Mhm.
things. So that's
Yep.
amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. All right. So if people are just listening audio on the audio recording, tell them how they find the quiz.
Sure, it's just fibroquiz.com. I try to make
Super
life real
simple.
hard.
Right?
Yep, just fibroquiz.com. You'll also find it in the resources on the podcast website. So if you go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com, you'll see the resources at the top. The quiz is in there. You can get free downloads of my book in there, a bunch of stuff.
Amazing. And we also make it super easy. So I have the quiz at the bottom. If you're watching like the replay on YouTube, I have it on the side. You can take the quiz. Or if you're listening, you can go to fibroquiz.com.
Yep.
Again, Tammy makes it real hard. So I want to take just a few more minutes and clarify some things because this is like a business building show. I wanted to have you because I think you dispel so many myths about building a business,
Yep.
just by being you and showing up and doing what you've done in the world and then being able to replicate that, right? Because it's not just you who has a business. You train coaches, you certify coaches, and then they go have a business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's that was the tricky thing to figure out, right? Because sometimes there's things that we do that we're good at, but teaching somebody else how to be good at that thing that we're just naturally good at,
true.
that's a trick, and
Hmm.
so I the one thing that I want people to get out of this, you see me now, it was a process, right? Like, the first time I did this was not as good as it is now. Right? And so,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to try stuff and see because you don't know where it's gonna go. You need that feedback of how, like, teaching other coaches, for example, I need to see how they do to know, "Oh, maybe I need to teach that different," or, "Oh, we need to structure this different," or, whatever. So,
Yes, I totally get that. So when we have a few minutes, I want if someone is like listening and they're like, "Well, I heard my friend said they have fibromyalgia, but like, what actually is it, and how many people does it affect?"
sure. Fibromyalgia, gosh, it affects more than 6% of the world's population. I think, it does affect more women than men, and I think the number for women specifically is 7.7%. The interesting thing about this is that it's actually the same amount of women as cervical cancer.
Hmm.
It's almost the same amount of women as breast cancer. Breast cancer is 1 in 8, fibromyalgia is 1 in 13. It's twice as many people as women who have colon cancer. And the reason that I'm bringing these things up is that every year, every woman is getting screened for those 3 things, right?
Mhm.
But your doctor doesn't know anything about fibromyalgia. So this is some of what I hope to change in the future. But yeah, 1 in 13 women. Fibromyalgia is a chronic pain condition, causes poor sleep, brain fog, fatigue, widespread body pain is the thing most people think of with fibromyalgia, but it's a lot more than that.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing because I think that's going to clear up some things for some people.
Yes. And it is not all in your head. I actually have a friend who's in nursing school right now, and in one of her textbooks, it says that fibromyalgia is a psychological, psychiatric illness. It is not. There are really things going wrong in your body, and there are also ways to treat that. So,
Amazing. So if you have that, find Tammy, get some help, find a coach, find an advocate.
please.
And tell us, how were you able to get your fibromyalgia into remission?
It's, just like I was just saying about business, it's a process, right? So it was really important, first of all, to actually get that diagnosis, because one of the things that happens with fibromyalgia is our nervous system goes haywire. Our brain, like, has an amplified response to pain. So, like a normal person, you'd stub your toe's gonna hurt. But in fibro, you stub your toe and then everything hurts. So there's definitely something going haywire in the brain and the nervous system. So without that diagnosis, people just kind of keep going, and we need to calm down that overactive pain response. So the first thing was getting the diagnosis, starting to treat that, starting to bring the pain down, starting to like understand the body that I'm living in, what my limitations are, what makes me feel better, what makes me feel worse. That has been a huge process. I also uncovered that there were several other things going on. In my particular case, I also have autoimmune thyroid, so I have Hashimoto's. So finding that, treating that. I also discovered that I have a sleeping disorder, and most people don't realize with fibromyalgia, there is 45% of us who have sleep apnea. That is a huge number. I mean, in the normal population, it's like maybe 2 or 3% to put that in
Wow.
perspective. So
Yeah.
grab a quarter, flip it. Yes, heads, no tails. Like that's your chances with fibromyalgia. So getting a sleep study is really, really important. Getting that treated. But I think for me, really the main thing was a very practical sort of mindfulness where I just pay attention to how I feel and how different things affect me. So if I eat this, do I feel better or worse? If I sit in that chair, do I feel better or worse? If I walk for this long, do I feel better or worse? My step counter, right? And so really paying attention and starting to make new decisions based on that, what I've noticed, right? And
Mhm.
starting to shift. I always talk about shifting my focus from being on my illness to my healing. So, I mean, Cassie, we've been a few places together,
We have.
and you watched me do this, but like I
Yeah.
might be sitting there not participating in something, but what's
Mhm.
happening in my head is not, oh, I can't do that because of my fibromyalgia, or I can't do that, or I might hurt. What's happening in my head is I'm gonna choose not to do that so I know I'll feel better tomorrow.
Mhm.
And that's a totally different thought, different experience.
Yes. And what I noticed from you is like, and I met you probably like in the middle, right?
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
are who
that's
you are
fair.
today. There is when you started. Like you were very good at owning those choices.
Yeah,
Like, it wasn't it which shuts down anything else. I think when some people hear that, "Oh, but what if someone's thinking?" Like, that was never any I don't think it wasn't in my head. I don't think it was anyone's thought process because you were so clear. Not that you spewed it out, right? You didn't go around, like, telling anyone that. You just owned it and, like,
yeah.
"This is what I need to do, and this is what I gotta do, and this is the place I need to sleep, or this is the" my favorite is your Amazon, like, care package you would send yourself ahead of time.
I know I haven't had to do that in a while, but especially at the beginning when I was traveling, like, fibro bodies are like you could kind of think of the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Like we're the it's just right. It's too hot. It's too cold. It's too hard. It's too so I would like order a bunch of stuff on Amazon, send it to my hotel, like Epsom salts for the Epsom salt bath, like the snacks, the extra water,
Yeah.
all the things to take care of myself. And I think that I don't know, I've started calling it unapologetic
Yes.
self-care because it's like this is what I need.
Mhm.
Period. Like there's
Yeah.
no drama, there's no like explaining or apologizing or anything else. This is what I need.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Amazing. All right. Well, as we wrap up, is there anything else that you would love someone to know or you want to share?
Sure. Yes. Two things. So, if you're listening and you have fibromyalgia, I want you to know that it is absolutely possible to feel better. Your doctor might not know how to help you, but there are people who do. You just have to find them. I would be happy to help you find them. But it is absolutely possible. There's just so much that can be done to treat fibromyalgia that there really is no reason that you have to feel the way that you feel right now. So, that's the first thing. The se the second thing is you can also have the business that you want if you have fibromyalgia. It's gonna look different. You're gonna do business different than everybody else, but you absolutely can. You just have to figure out your way. And one of the things that I've started doing a few classes and workshops on is building an energetically sustainable business. It's no good if we have this awesome idea and we want to go out and change the world and we burn ourselves out in a blaze of glory. Like that doesn't actually help anybody. So we want to do it in a sustainable way. And so if you have a chronic illness, if you're a mom to somebody with a chronic illness, you're a caretaker to somebody who has health issues, you can still have the business that you want to have.
Yay, I love that. I also love that you're teaching that because it comes from such an experience and such a
Yeah.
role model, right? Of yes, you can. And even if you don't go 100 miles an hour, you can build a business. And again,
We are the tortoise, we are not the hare. We just
yes.
keep going.
And I still think I think it's an advantage.
I
I
do
think
too. I
it's a
really do. Yeah.
yeah, you can't get distracted or want to do all the things. Like you have to pay more attention. And
Yes.
that is a gift that is, for those of you that have fibromyalgia or anything similar, it's a gift.
Mhm. It
Yeah.
really is. It really is. Keep you laser focused, right?
Yes.
And you can go farther and get more done and help more people because you aren't chasing after the next shiny object because you can't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you, Tammy, for joining us and sharing your journey and all and for helping people heal fibromyalgia. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Thanks for reaching out. This was so much fun, Cassie. Thank you.
It was so much fun. I also knew it would be fun.
I'm
Not only
I'm
did I
guessing you're a
know
playmaker too, Cassie.
probably. That's probably true. And I knew your wisdom would be amazing and we'd have fun. So that's totally a win for me. I love it. All right. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure to come back next time and see what other entrepreneur is teaching you how they built, grew, and are profiting in their business. Thank you for being here. Join our community to attend live recordings, access free training, and connect with other entrepreneurs by going to buildgrowprofitgroup.com. That's buildgrowprofitgroup.com. Register for a free account and then request to join our group. We're excited to connect with you at buildgrowprofitgroup.com.